Now, you go to a lot of conferences, big events, seminars and whatnot. Would you, and this is probably a question that you get all the time, but would you rather sit through a 10-hour lecture on the lifespan of a banana slug, or would you rather go to an Ozzy Osbourne concert?
Probably an Ozzy Osbourne concert. It'll be certainly much more fun and more to talk about after it's over.
That's awesome.
And I will definitely see a whole lot more interesting people there than I would at the conference.
That's for sure. What kind of stuff do you do for fun? I mean, what do you do? Do you go out on dates with your wife? What does Dr. Sam Chan do for a good time?
Okay. All of these good times change at different times in life. So I'll tell you where I am at right now. Okay. Because I'm traveling so much and I am moving around, whenever I'm home, it's all about family. Yeah. It's all about family. So it is going out to eat, it is going to the movies, it is going shopping, it is hanging with the family every moment I get. So for me, fun right now is family. That's what I do. So like today when I'm talking to you, this is my first day home.
Oh, wow.
And so tomorrow I'll be out of town, then, so and so for the weekend and Monday. I'm gone almost every day, and I put my schedule on my website so people can see that. Yeah. And so for me, fun is family. Whatever family wants to do is fun. There was a time that I'd say, no, I don't want to go there. No, I don't feel like eating Mexican again, But now it is, hey, wherever the family is going, I'm going to go because I'm going there not for the food, I'm going there for the fun, and my family is that right now.
That's great. That's great. Who are your major influences? People that you learn from, or maybe that you listen to? I've heard you say that you don't read a lot of books. You're more into periodicals, magazines, articles, etc. What are you reading? Who are you listening to? And what would you suggest?
I have 11 mentors in my life, and all of them speak into specific areas of my life. So, for example, if I'm thinking about vision, I go to somebody for that. If I'm thinking about family issues, then I go to someone for that. If I am dealing with developing a product, I go to someone for that. If I'm looking for somebody to help me think creatively, I'm going to someone like that. If I need somebody to shoot my idea down, because because arguing with them will tell me, because they're just wired that way. They see all the glass half empty. So I have people like that. So I have about 11 people like that in my life on purpose. That I speak to, who pour into me, but they bring different gifts into my life. I have some people who just process stuff out, who just ask me questions. They have no opinion on the subject I'm talking about, but they'll ask me questions and draw it out of me. Wow. So when I'm writing a book, for example, and I'm stuck on a chapter, I will call some friends and just they will ask me questions that will unclog that block and move me forward.
And then, anything that you're currently reading right now, anything that you would suggest?
Yeah, I read a few journals on a regular basis. And of course, now with the media, internet and stuff, there's so much available there. I'm still reading books. I'm reading books more for concepts to help me think, because I can get a big critical mass of thinking that comes out of that. Here's what happens with books. My 12th book comes out next week. So here's what happens with books. From concept to it being on the shelf, it's anywhere between 2 years plus.
Wow.
So that means the next book that comes out next week, I started thinking and writing on that 2 years ago.
Wow.
And it takes that much time going through the publishing process, all that has to take place.
Right.
So it's pretty involved. And so when it hits next week, the shelves, and it's already in Barnes & Noble, already at Amazon. When it hits, it's like I have to refresh myself as to go back and say,
exactly.
Oh, so I reread that book last week again to say, okay, that's a good book. I'm glad somebody wrote that. So what I'm reading right now in journals, I read Fast Company. which is cheap and ideas on steroids. I usually get 2 good ideas out of the entire thing, but it's worth it. It's just $1. It's worth it. It's great. Another thing that I read is Leader to Leader. Comes out of the Peter Drucker Institute. Much more expensive, but it's gold. It's just pure gold. And to know what's happening in the pastoral ranks in the church, I read the Leadership Journal that is put out by Christianity Today. That's been very, very helpful. And of course, then there's people send me books all the time. So I probably get 1 or 2 books every week in the mail free of charge. So they just stack up and I'll flip through them, and a chapter catches my attention. I'll read that chapter, borrow some material, make it mine, and go teach it.
There you go. That's the way to do it. For those watching out there, if you were to suggest, your top 2 books that they should read, if they're on a budget and they can only afford 2 books, which 2 books of yours would you suggest that they purchase and read through?
I would suggest 2 books. And you talk about my books, right?
Your books, yes.
I would suggest, yeah. And my books are not that expensive. They're just $20 on the internet. You probably can go to on Craigslist or eBay and find them for much less. But if you went to my website, that's what it's going to be. The 2 books I would suggest. The first one would be Who's Holding Your Ladder? Who's Holding Your Ladder? And the thesis on that is very simple, that if the ladder is your vision, and you as the visionary are the ladder climber, your ascent up the ladder is not dependent on your ladder, and it's not dependent on your ladder climbing skills or competencies. It really is dependent on who's holding your ladder. So the people on the ground who are supporting you, that would be one of the books that I would suggest. The second book would go along with what we're talking about right now. It's called Futuring, Leading the Church into Tomorrow. This is how that book sells. Pastors buy that book by the boxes because, first of all, it's cheaper that way. But more than that,
right.
The reason they buy by the boxes is in that book, I say things that pastors wish they had the guts to say. So they put that book into the leader's hands, and then they end up doing some leadership lessons out of that, and leadership discussions out of that, and book conversations out of that. And what it is, it starts the conversation that they're afraid to start. And it is a very widely accepted book in many different languages. So those are the 2. One is pure leadership, and the other is pure taking the church into where it wants to go.
That's great. That's great. Hey, what's the last great movie you saw? Last movie.
The last, Up in the Air.
That's
Up in the Air with George Clooney, because that describes my life, except for all the shenanigans. Except for the one part. I took my wife with me, I said, babe, this is my life here, except for. Yeah. So I don't sit around bars and swap, my mileage, even though I'm a multi-million miler with airlines and stuff like that. I don't do all of that and the other stuff, but it kind of shows my life. I don't go around firing people. It just shows my life as to the kind of things that you have to do. And then last week I saw Wall Street.
Ooh.
Money Never Sleeps. Yeah. So, but the movie that I really enjoyed last was Up in the Air.
That's great. Well, what's your favorite place that you've traveled?
Oh man, that's a great question. Favorite place, United States. Let's keep United States out of this one. Otherwise, I'll make a lot of enemies. So let me play this one safe.
Okay.
Probably I would have to choose between South Africa or Australia.
Wow.
In South Africa, it would be Cape Town, and Australia, it would be Adelaide.
Wow.
They're gorgeous, gorgeous places. Beautiful people, but more than that, gorgeous scenery.
Wow.